is very different from the way I see Jesus lived in the scripture. So if we're always rushing, if we're always stressed, if we're always anxious, we're always overwhelmed, I tell you, Jesus invites us just to come to Him. I want to read for you Matthew chapter 11 this morning. And I'm going to read it from the Message. I want to remind you folks, the Message, don't study from the Message Bible. Eugene Peterson wrote this more as a devotional to help his children, his young children, understand the Scriptures. But I tell you, I read it for you this morning, just in keeping with our lesson, because it has some amazing things to say. This is what Jesus said with Eugene Peterson's Message spin it. Are you tired? Are you worn out? Are you burnt out on religion? Come to me. Get away with me and you'll recover your life. I'll show you how to take a real rest. Walk with me and work with me. Watch how I do it. Learn the unforced rhythms of grace. I won't lay anything heavy on or ill-fitting on you. Keep company with me and you'll learn how to live freely and lightly. Isn't that an amazing statement? This is incredible because it's so different from the space that we are living, so many of us. You know, Jesus said, get away with me. I just love the way that he said about the rhythms of grace. I love that expression. Get away from me. You'll recover your life. Watch and walk with me. What about these incredible rhythms that Jesus is talking about? Let's talk a little way for the way that talk about the way that Jesus lived. Jesus only lived 33 years on this earth. I still cannot get my head around it. I mean, I was 33 before I even understood what was going on in life. 33 years. His mission was to give his life, and then he waited 30 years before his ministry even started, his public ministry. It's fascinating to think what Jesus did. So he was baptized by John the Baptist, and when he was baptized, the heavens opened up, and God said from heaven, "This is my beloved Son, whom I love, who I am well pleased." And then you know, later on he would say, listen to him. And then before he begins his public ministry, he comes out, guess what he does? He takes a sabbatical. He goes off into the wilderness for 40 days. And there he's ministered to by God. And he fights a couple of battles with Satan seen there. So straight after he starts his public ministry, he's off to be with his God. Folks, don't try and do anything before you've been taken time to be with your God. I remind you of the first miracle that Jesus did, the very first one. By the way, John chapter 20 is around about verse 22. Said Jesus performed many signs and miracles. The world couldn't contain all the libraries of all those books. That's what the Apostle John said. You can read that in John chapter 20. So his very first miracle, you know, it is at the wedding of Cana. Jesus, you've only got 3 years. What are you doing, spending time at a wedding? So, okay, if you're going to go to the wedding, just go there, make an appearance, and get back to doing life. He doesn't do that. They run out of wine at the wedding. When do you think that happened? At the beginning of the wedding or towards the end of the celebrations? It's with it. Jesus stayed to the end. Jesus was there having a party with everybody else, celebrating this incredible wedding. Mother comes to him, hey, do what he tells you to do, water into wine. Jesus took time out to engage in these social events. Let me tell you about another style of Jesus to show you the rhythms of his life. A man by the name of Jairus comes to Jesus. Jairus was a big deal. He was an important guy in society. And he comes to Jesus and he said, Jesus, please come. My baby girl is dying. So Jesus starts to go with him. Not running. Didn't grab jump into an Uber and fly off there. Jesus goes with this man, and I'm sure Jairus said, come on, can you walk a little faster? And while they were going to Jairus' house where his daughter was dying, a woman came and touched Jesus. She had been having a major bleeding problem for 12 years. She was very ill. Guess what Jesus does? He stops. And he gives his full attention to this woman who's been so ill. And he heals her there. Jairus must have been beside himself. And then the news comes, your daughter has died. It's an incredible stuff. But Jesus goes anyway. And you know the story. He heals Jairus' daughter. When Jesus came into Jerusalem, how did he come into Jerusalem? I mean, he's Jesus. He deserves, an Arabian stallion. A white one, drenched in gold and suitably adorned. He comes into Jerusalem on a donkey, a walking animal. Folks, you're never going to see a donkey in the Durban July, in the horse road. Jesus was on a mission, but he was never rushed. And the scriptures just say, many times, as he walked. As he walked. And if you're following Jesus, Jesus is inviting you today, stop this rush. Shouldn't we be like him? Life happens, we've got stuff to do, but as we walked. If Jesus wasn't rushed in his soul, why should we? Why are we so rushed? Can I suggest a few things this morning? My guess is that we're either running from something or we are running to something. My guess this morning is that maybe we are running from insignificance and we're running towards acceptance. We're trying to find acceptance. We're moving at a pace. Please, I'm looking for acceptance. So we're at this pace looking for the affirmation, the kudos, the thumbs up, the ticks. Maybe this morning we are running from hurt. We're just at such a pace, we just try to get away from our past. Maybe you're running towards an image this morning. Got to get married. Got to get that promotion. Got to get the new car. Got to live in that neighborhood. Maybe we're running towards popularity or fame. Become the new influencer on the block. And the problem for most people in our culture is they're chasing a life that will still leave them empty and without peace in their lives. Can I remind you this morning, one of the greatest enemies to the life that you want may be the very life that you are living. And I know some of you think about, preacher, you don't understand, man. You only work on Sundays, but, I've got a real job. My life is the boss is on my tail all the time. It's targets and pushing and everything. And I do understand. But I can't get it all done, you're saying. I can't get it all done. I can't slow down. There's just too much happening. There's too many moving parts. And, I've just got to be I like this juggling. If I move this and then this one drops and that ball. Respectfully, can I say to you this morning, you have time for what you choose to have time for. You have time for the things that you choose to have time for. And some of you are saying, I don't have time for Bible study. I don't have time for life group. I'm just busy. But you'll find time for the things that you really want. I mean, just look at your life. And if you don't have time for those things, maybe you're just too busy. The solution is not more time. The solution is more of what matters most. I want to say that again. The solution is not more time. The solution is more of what matters most. The reason that more of us don't have time for what matters is we are mindlessly spending our life on what doesn't matter. Let me just give you a little idea about this. I'll talk to you about social media for a second. How about this? The average person will spend 706 hours on social media a month. Now, folks, that doesn't mean too much if I just tell you that. But what if I tell you, if you just break that down into about 8 hours a day, because that's the working day, that equates to nearly over 4 months of a year you spend doing social media. That is just staggering. How about this? TV. The average person will spend 2,737, I nearly became like Zuma, 2,737 hours per year. Have you any idea? Folks, that's 114 days a year. 24 hours, 24/7 just watching TV. No, we're not that busy. We've got time for what counts. Here's another thing, video games. The average guy, ladies, you're off the hook on this one. And I know you're involved with some of you. But the average guy, by the time he's 21, has spent 10,000 hours playing video games. Let me tell you about 10,000 hours. Many of you know that is a very special figure. 10,000 hours is expert level. If you spend 10,000 hours doing any particular thing, for instance, you can become a concert level pianist by practicing for 10,000 hours. You can read 2,200 books at a very slow pace with 10,000 hours. Can you imagine what type of an education you could give yourself if you spend 10,000 hours doing those times? Are we too busy, or are we mindlessly wasting our time on stuff that doesn't matter? We don't have time because we're busy body. What if the greatest enemy to the life that you want is the life that you are living? We're wasting our time. So, what do we do? What do we do? Okay, I don't know, because I'm also trapped in this struggle. But no, seriously, if you want to slow down, if you don't slow down, folks, for many of you, especially speak to all of our young people with kids, I mean, it's crazy the demands that you have. Crazy. If you don't slow down, maybe God will slow you down. You'll have a breakdown. You'll end up having surgery. You'll end up being forced to sit in a chair and put your feet up because life just blew out the top. In conclusion, let me say to this, who is our God? Who is our God? At his very essence, if I say to you, God is, what will you say? God is love. God is love. It's not just what he does, it's who he is. So I must love the Lord my God with all my heart, all my soul, with all my mind, and all my strength. This is my core mission in life. A man by the name of John Mark Corner, he wrote a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. The Ruthless Elimination Hurry. And this is what he said. Love is incompatible with hurry. If you're always busy, if you're always hurried, you cannot be loving. You cannot be loving. 1 Corinthians chapter 13, the love chapter. Love is this, love is that, love is this, love is that. What is the very first thing that he says? Love is patient. Love is patient. And folks, love takes time, but hurry has no time. Patience takes time. Patience takes time. Hurry doesn't have time for your children. Busy. Hurry doesn't have time for your husband, for your wife, for your church, for your neighbor. Love is patient. Love slows down the pace so you have time to engage. Can I suggest to you this morning a prayer that you maybe need to be praying? Maybe with me you'll enjoy me. I'm going to pray this every single day for this week, 7 days. God, help me walk slowly enough to experience Jesus more and love people deeply. Lord, God, help me walk slowly enough to experience Jesus more and to love people more deeply. What if you prayed this prayer every single day? I can't tell you what God's going to do in your life, but I'm hoping that God will teach you to be present in the moment. Because sometimes we are physically present, but our minds are elsewhere. Hey? We're physically with somebody, but our minds are elsewhere. So folks, you know what happens. You go to the restaurant, you sit wherever it is. Families all sitting together. Everybody's physically present, but they're on their cell phones or they're planning today or their minds are elsewhere. No one's engaging. We do not know how to converse anymore. Be present in the moment. Number two, choose what's important. Choose what's important. Eliminate what's not. Eliminate not what's not. And number three, sense God's presence and recognize His voice. Sense God's presence and recognize His voice. I hope praying this prayer will help me, will help you to see God working in places that previously I was just too busy to notice. Join me with this prayer this week. I want you to notice Jesus never walked, never ran. He was always walking, and He was walking towards the cross. Day after day, step after step, moment after moment, fulfilling God's calling for Him at a walking pace, and expressing God's deepest love for people as He walked along there. That profound love that He has for you and me. Folks, listen. When we know Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, we don't just take Him to be the truth and the way. We also take Him to be the life that is to be lived. We follow the life, the unrushed life. Imagine in this angry, bitter, violent world, there is a loving church walking slowly enough to engage with those who need to hear the story of the cross. So as we close, the answer is not more time. The answer is more of what matters most. You have the time for what you choose to have time for. So God, help me walk slowly enough to experience Jesus more and to love people deeply. Let's stand together.